studio that is one of my favorite human beings. Her name is Carly Mock. She is the owner of the Dream Project, and she has a wonderful story today. And, you know, with everything that's going on in the world, it's hard not to feed into it. And I can tell you after this week, I'm so disgusted. I mean, I woke up on Monday and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm fed up. I'm fed up with people's ugliness. I'm fed up with people defending people that shouldn't be defended. Just utterly disgusted. And then on top of that, to be attacked by people that I consider friends over an opposing view, which to me, we have to err on the side of being right. You know, do what's right. You know, try to be a good person. Those are the values that I instilled in my sons, and I try to hold myself. I wasn't always that way, and I'm quick to say it. If you guys want to dig, you can dig, and you'll find out that I was kind of a rapscallion back in the day. You know, but the difference is we grow up. We try to mature. We try to become better people. You know, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Now, I don't even want anybody to even fathom that I'm this perfect citizen. All you got to do is just call my wife, and she'll let you know, yeah, he still can't put his dishes in the dishwasher. He still leaves the cupboards open, and we're not even going to talk about what my office looks like half the time. But the point is, we should all strive to try to be better, and we should all expect that out of the people that hold positions of power. And so with that, I'm going to end it. You can speculate. You can do what you want with the information. But I thought, you know what? I want to have a show that's Fargo-based this week. And I wanted to have a show that shows the power of, first, faith, you know, the power of perseverance, and the power of belief in self. Because I've always felt like, and I told my kids this, you have got to love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, it's going to be hard for other people to love you. And above all, you have to believe in yourself, because, you know, your friends and family will let you down, even though they don't mean to. Your enemies are always going to talk bad about you. You know, God's there with you, but you have to have belief in yourself. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to bring on Carly, because she is the poster woman for perseverance, faith, and love. I mean, the story of you and your husband, what a love story, huh?
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Carly Mock.
Thank you
How
so
are you
much.
today?
I'm doing great.
So it's funny, because I met you out at Maple River Golf Course. You see I'm wearing the Maypac.
I like it.
Hey, listen, it's the qualifier weekend.
Yes,
and I have
right.
to tell you guys, her dad has taken me to the woodshed on many a day on the golf course. And what bugs me is he's charming about it.
I know.
You know, some guys, they dig at you, you know, they needle you. But Don will say, oh, well, hey, that wasn't a bad shot, as he birdies or he dispatches of you. Hey, you know what?
Chips it in. That's kind of his
Right?
signature move.
Oh, my gosh.
Doesn't
you
drive
know,
you crazy?
he's fun to play with. Great guy. He's fun to play with, but he's so infuriating, because for me, I feed off negativity. So if somebody says something bad to me, I'm like, oh, I'm getting in the zone.
Yes.
I'm going to crush you. But he kills me with kindness.
Yeah.
And he's really a neat guy. You know, he's one of my favorite people out there, because he just is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, welcome to the show. We got a lot to get to, and I want you guys to know this is going to be the Carly Mock Show. I've had people say, you know what, let your guests talk more. Well, guess what? Carly, this is going to be your chance to talk. So let's just start at the beginning. I met you out at the golf course many years ago. And the funny thing is, there's something either in your book that you said in one of your interviews, it's been 20 years.
Isn't that insane?
And I'm like, no, not
We haven't
little
aged.
Carly.
What are we doing?
Okay, maybe you haven't aged, but.
Well, let me tell you, I've aged.
So
for
welcome
sure.
to the show. Now, you
Yeah.
have the Dream Project.
Yes.
And when I read it, I'm like, you know what? This is what we need at this time in this community.
Yeah.
So why the Dream Project?
You know, years and years of, well, now, 20 plus years now that threw that number out there for me, of just working in different settings and with different leadership. And just as you mentioned in the beginning of this, it's so spot on of just, we've lost sight of treating people like people.
Right.
And the reality is we are at work and we're in those spaces 90,000 hours of our life, which is a third of our life. That is a lot to swallow. And sometimes when you don't realize it's that much that consumes you, there's just this big gap in our community, in our world right now, where leaders are just not treating people like people.
Right.
And they're putting profit and performance over that piece that is really the key piece to them actually succeeding and making an impact in whatever business they have. And so I wanted to take the experiences that I've had and kind of a rock bottom that I hit that really gave me this perspective shift. But how can I go back in and share some of those things and how we can come out of that and start putting people first?
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk about the workplace, but it seem like, and you've been married for a while now, there's also work to be done there every day.
Oh my gosh, under the roof is the most important spot. And I did lose sight of that, working that 80 hours a week and pouring into something that really was fleeting and didn't matter. And before that rock bottom, it was the exact shake-up I needed of what are you doing to pour into these people that are the most important human beings in your life instead of giving them the leftovers of you every single night. And that's what was happening.
So I want you to talk about the rock bottom a little bit, because it seems like as humans, we go along and everything's fantastic, fantastic. And I'm really guilty of this. Is right now, everything is really great in my life. I mean, wife is doing well. We're going to have a grandbaby.
Yes.
The whole 9 yards. And it occurred to me that I haven't been praying as much as I usually do.
Ooh, that's.
And it's like, dude, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's like, things could turn. Don't wait for them to turn to be thankful.
Yes.
Say something to the Lord and let him know.
Yes.
So let's talk about that rock bottom and let people know that.
You know what's so funny is I was just wrestling with that myself just in the last few weeks is sometimes as a person of faith, it's very, you hate to say easy, but it's easy when you're on your knees begging for something. And when things start to go right and he starts giving you those blessings, it's you just forget about it and until the next bump, right? And so that's, I mean, even the recognition in that is huge to just stop and pause. And maybe there's a lot of people that are listening right now that are in those good seasons and have put that in the back burner. So no, I think that's a great point to bring up.
So during your sickness, did you make the bargain?
Oh, I made the bargain. The, negotiation, sales 101 over here, negotiating with God, what you're not supposed to do, but 100%, I was in a very, very corporate setting, really trying to feel my worth in a lot of things that a lot of us can probably relate to, which is that titles and advancement and money and everything ego, right? And it gets the best of us really easy if we're not self-evaluating often. But that's kind of where my life was at, was everything was trying to fill some void that I really didn't know existed until, I had a 1-year-old son at the time. We struggled with infertility for a while to have our firstborn, and it really did give me that first perspective shift. I grew up with a great family. I grew up with, they did a great job raising us in a way that I didn't have to feel a lot of challenges, and if they were pretty minor. And so that first hiccup for, my husband and I of just kind of struggling to start our own family, which was really important to us, really gave me that first perspective shift of, oh, I'm really grateful for this. And I don't know that I would have went through pregnancy and welcoming him into the world as grateful as I was had I not had to go through some more challenges to get there. And he was only 1 at the time when I got diagnosed. So I was diagnosed originally with ulcerative colitis, which is chronic illness, lifelong battle that I'll have that attacks your GI tract and ulcers and inflammation. And mine went very severe very quickly. And so it was a diagnosis in October and hospitalized by December. And so that negotiation came within the first 90 days. It was a really quick situation where, you're watching yourself wither away and you're really not sure if you're going to get to go home. And it was that rock bottom moment for me on Christmas Day.
Wow. Yeah. Of all things on Christmas. Big Game James says we're up against a break.
Yeah.
When we come back, I want to talk about the bargaining because Daryl and I also had that moment. And mine was, hey, there's the teaser. We'll see you on the other end of the break. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. Call in and Welcome back to Talk of the Town. This is Jon Adams. I'm here with my lovely guest, Carly Mock. She is the owner and proprietor, the big cheese at the at the Dream Project. And so we were talking about bargaining, and the one thing I tell my kids is that you have to pray. You have to pray so that when you ask and you ask fervently and you're asking because you need it. The Lord understands, hey, listen, this guy's been asking for this and he's asking for that. And so it's like you get to that point and then there's the now what? Now for me, for whatever reason, I have the ability to pray about it and then be done with it. And I think sometimes it makes my wife angry because it appears like I'm oblivious or I don't care or this or that. But I just grew up taught that when you pray, pray and leave it at the feet of the Lord and go from there. So I don't want to say get through because there's no get through when you have something like that. But but I got to back up because right now, I want you to say something to your person, okay, and that being your husband, because it's not easy going through these things. So what message do you have for the big guy?
Oh man, I try to say this as often as possible because I truly do feel like, and you and I were talking off air a little bit about you being on the other side of watching somebody else have a health struggle. And as the person going through that in a really quick and dire way, I was going through what's next, just to get me better. And I wasn't thinking about anything else. Where the person and that support person is doing the worrying, if they aren't able to just give it up to God. They're worrying. He's at home with my 1-year-old trying to wonder if I'm coming home. And, I always am so grateful for him. And I share this all the time of, I never once felt like my job was anything but to get better. And he took care of everything. He stood firm in his faith. He was steady. He was supportive. And, I'm eternally grateful for his support, for family support in town, 100%.
Isn't it amazing when I always talk about my person, and your kids grow up and they leave you, parents die, your siblings, they have their thing. And it's fortunate when you find your person, and you're thankful. And, I've had hip replacements and sometimes you do, it is about you and you forget that there are other people outside of that room that are worrying. And then there's that thing that you kind of get mad about where you have the whole world is spinning, not understanding that I'm over here damn near dead or I'm going through it. And it's hard not to get negative or angry, and then they walk in. And Geraldine's magical with the whole thing. She always has been. But that leads us to post illness where you've got to make some decisions. So first, where did the Dream Project come from? And how did you pivot to this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I think, back to bargaining with God is just give me a chance to be his mom, to do better, not just for myself, but to serve other people and use my gifts for purpose. Because up till that point, it was all for me. Maybe I could tell myself it was for my family too. But in reality, all the gifts that he had given me with the ability to communicate and relational ability and all of those things were used to only push myself forward. And that was my negotiation. And it was, a few weeks later, I was, on the surgery floor and removing my colon, living with a temporary ostomy bag at age 30. And the minute I woke up from that surgery, the pain was there from the surgical, but everything else had lifted, and I had been in immense pain on pain meds for months straight. And I just was like, thank you, Lord. That was the first time that I went from being a believer to a follower. And the biggest difference of what that felt like was more relational. I will do anything. And that has been my life for 8 years. And I've walked through every door. It has been so clear. The people he has placed in my life, the little God winks and the crumbs along the trail have been so very clear for me. And I'm so grateful for that. It led me to purposeful work leaving corporate America and going to work for a nonprofit, which led me to hundreds and hundreds of people who I have met in this community that I never would have otherwise. And I grew up here and I was so in my bubble. of not serving other people, not knowing how many amazing missions there are in this community to get involved in and to find purpose using your own gifts. And I truly do believe you're one person away from changing your life. And that position I got to be a part of at a mission that was really, really important to me, still is, really set me up to be where I'm at now, which is to help other people find that clarity and purpose beyond whatever they're holding in it, whether it's their work or when I'm doing work with college athletes. They get really wrapped in that identity of being an athlete. What am I outside of it? And guess what? That's going to come to an end at some point. And so I really do feel like all of this was placed in my past so that I can help other people find that
It
clarity.
really is amazing you say that, because as a former college athlete, and I talked to other guys who were athletes, for years, we just did that thing.
Yep.
It was school, it was go and perfect your craft, workout, games. And that was it. That was your world, right? And I remember the year after I wasn't playing anymore, I didn't know what to do in the fall. Now that seems kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
But there had always been, what am I, Canadian? There's always been something that happened, getting ready for the season. And there were times when I would just sit there and go, oh, well, this is what people do for that 3 hours where I was lifting or this or that.
Yep.
But also your identity. It's like, who am I now? What am I supposed to be now? And you talk about being wrapped up in, we all do it where, if I make more money, this is going to be good for my family.
Yes.
If I make the right connections, I'll be here and I'll have this and everything will be great. But the reality is you can make as much money as you want. You can do all the wonderful things, but if you don't give back, like I say, I'm 60. I'm in the give back portion of my life, and I've kind of been, as coaching and mentoring, stuff like that, kind of been of service, not to your level, because I watched some of your videos and it's like, you guys have got to go on YouTube and watch Carly's videos, because it really speaks to what we need in our community and our society now, and that is giving people the belief that there's more than just running around acquiring things, and that service is probably the most valuable part of your life, whether it's with your family or it's out in the community. So you're doing the DreamWorks, and I watched your video, and there was a point where you got choked up, And for me, it was like, okay. And I always tease Geraldine because she's a crier, boy.
Yep.
She watched the Hallmark Channel, and she's off and running. But in those moments when you're on the stage and you have that moment, it's so powerful. How does that feed you when you're trying to get your message out?
Yeah, I probably know the exact point and what you probably watched, because I've told that story hundreds of times. And it's so funny the times where it really hits. And it is that rock bottom. It was on that Christmas day. And it was me not knowing if I was going to leave and be his mom again, and watching my son walk out at visiting hours to go celebrate Christmas without me and go to church and to experience that magic of what Christmas is for the first time without his mother. And I really just broke. And that is when I went on my negotiation and dropped to my knees for the first time since I was a kid. And I truly do believe that was 8 years ago almost. And, you talk about when we get into these good seasons and, leave the past. You don't want to I love to remember the past. I love to remember my rock bottom. And I think it's really important not to live there in an unhealthy way, in a pity way, in a place that keeps you stuck where you were. It's healthy for me to know where I was and where I'm at now, and to stay on the path of remember what you promised.
Right.
Because we can easily get off track.
Right.
Easily get off track from that negotiation. Hey, he did his job. Now I better continue to do mine. And there's ways that I get off track. And even leaving Bio Girls, it was a really hard decision. That probably was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, which sounds crazy because it was, to a lot of people, that's just a job. That was not just a job for me. That was a very pivotal time in my life where I found a mission that I could pour my gifts into for the first time. And those girls changed my life as a volunteer. Then to be able to go and use my gifts of bringing people in and galvanizing and bringing people together for a greater purpose was everything I got chills just thinking about it. And so to leave a good thing for a good thing was one of the most difficult things I've ever walked through, of really grieving something that's still here, right? That could be even like a relationship that comes to mind, and there's somebody still here, but it's like you're grieving that person and what was, to go on, because you know you have something more that God has planned for you. And that was a really, really hard transition for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself again wrapping my identity in Carly with Bio Girls, Carly with Bio Girls.
Right.
And I went to Costco one day. I was like, all right, I know, God, you want me to do this. I have no plan. I have no people that are going to pay me, but I'm ready to do it. And that identity piece was still just getting to me. And there was somebody behind me in line. And I just remember going, hey, James, right? And he's like, yeah, is it Carly with Bio Girls? And I just went, yeah, all right. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. I'm ready
Right.
to move forward, and we'll see where it takes us.
Right. And
Yeah.
you have those aha moments.
Yeah.
And we're gonna compare that to the payoff moments.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the community for a long time, I've coached and I've mentored,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have those people that you helped that were younger, like even 5 years
Yes.
ago, and they come up to you, and you go, "Oh, that's why I'm here. That's why the Lord. That's why I had to leave Bio Girls.
Yep.
That's why." Right. And so it's like volunteerism or mentoring or even teaching,
Mm-hmm.
nursing, all that. It's not easy, but those payoff moments, and you actually start working for them. Right.
100%. Yep.
Is that not crazy?
Yes. You're like, how can I find the next one? I mean, it's a great thing to be addicted to, I would say.
Right?
If
Well,
you're going to find anything.
I'll go shopping. Costco's that's my thing,
Yes.
or Walmart. Hello, Kayla. And my thing is, it's very easy to walk through and just be in life.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, and you know this, I mean, I'm a cut up. I want people to smile. I want people to say, you know what? That was nice of him.
Mm-hmm.
Just greeting someone who's bagging my groceries, or, you see some, I mean, Costco, they work,
Yep.
and just to say thank you and stuff like that. Just knowing that I made that person's day. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think, well, that's selfish because you're doing it because you're going to feel better. But it's like, yeah, that to me, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
And both parties get it.
Right?
You get that serotonin just like they do,
Dude.
and it doesn't take much. The thing is
No.
it can be the simplest thing, and we
Right?
are overcomplicating what being a good human looks like these days.
You know what overcomplicates it? Social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? And being now I am a social media addict.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 hours a day easily.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, why? Because I'm fascinated by human beings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated that people can abandon their morals and their scruples and do this. I'm also fascinated by the stupid things that people
Yes.
do on a roof or a ladder.
Yes.
I'm fascinated by animals
Mm-hmm.
that are
The
like
endless
behaving
laughter.
like humans. Yeah, so it's all those things, but at the same time, it's the payoff moments, and then the other thing is legacy.
Mm.
And for me, like I say, I'm 60. The average life expectancy, I got maybe 20 good years. I know how fast it took for my sons to be 18.
Yep.
I can't waste any of those years. I can't
Yeah.
waste any of those minutes. And you know what
I'm
a
in the
minute
thick of
means,
it now. Yes.
right? So before I forget, I want to talk about your book. Now, I haven't read it. I
Yes.
haven't even seen it. I didn't even know you had a book until I started digging in. I was like,
Yeah.
how did Don not tell me that you wrote a book? And maybe he did and I forgot. Big Game James says we're up against break. When we come back,
Perfect.
we're going to talk about the book
Let's do
because I'm interested to hear. So if you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. We'll see you on the other end of the break. That is the second. Hey, welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with Carly Mock, the Dream Project president, owner, provider, janitor,
All the
nurse,
things.
HR. It's funny because when you become a business, one thing that people don't realize, oh, I should get paid more. I should be able to do this and that. What people don't realize is that when you own a business, it begins and ends with you. The successes and the failures and everything that's in between.
Yep.
You have to worry about public perception. You have to worry about what your employees think. All of these things.
Yep.
And it's not easy. And you talk about a leap of faith, right? Because if you don't make no money, you don't eat.
Correct.
Right? What's more than that is your self-esteem does get wrapped up, and so goes the business, so goes you. And sometimes we lose sight of that. And for me, there are days when the window game ain't hot, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
this is not. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, but this is what you signed up for. So I want to talk about the dream project. Well, I want you to talk about it. Tell us what it is,
Yep.
how people can reach you, what the goal of the Dream Project is, and what the future looks like.
Yeah. So back to just, the experiences that I've had, not only with the identity piece, but also how we treat people, especially in the workplace. So this dream, for the lack of better terms, came to me actually when I was doing my work prior with the nonprofit and was going to meet one of our donors, and he ran a large business in town, and he's showing me around, and he just said, "Hey, this is our chief dream officer," and he just kept going by. I'm like, "Whoa, you need to stop. What is that?" And he just explained it so nonchalant of just, this is a benefit we offer our employees. They can opt in if they'd like. It's one-on-one coaching. We want them to know that they matter more than what they do here for us. And it's all about finding the dreams that are on their heart, and we want them to pursue them. They even gave a stipend of I'm pretty sure it was like $500 to go towards whatever dream that was. It could have been a vacation. It could have been they wanted to write a book. It could have been they wanted to learn how to play an instrument, whatever that was. I remember he did say somebody wanted to learn how to play piano, so they used it for piano lessons. It was like the basis of the program is, if you're not enjoying your life outside of work, you certainly are not showing up here engaged and excited about the work you're doing for somebody else, right? And so if you're going to work and you're going home and you're going to work and you're going home and you have nothing to look forward to, I think back to COVID all the time for this, every single thing of hope and excitement was canceled.
Right.
And when you don't have that thing that you are looking forward to, that you're pursuing, that you're passionate about, could be something so small, or could be that lead up to a trip. We've all booked that trip. And honestly, the lead up to getting there is sometimes more exciting than when you're actually there and then poof, it's gone, right? It's like that lead up is what gives us that hope and the reason to show up for the job, to make the money, to feel your dreams. And so this whole program, I got certified in, it's a dream manager. It's by Matthew Kelly. It's been around for years and years, but it's a 12-month coaching program where you really do sit down. The individuals get we go through so many different questions to get them a list of 100 dreams on their heart. This could be the exciting things, and this can also be the relational things. What relationships need fixing? What character do I want to develop? What legacy do I want to leave? And so there's an array of things that we talk through, and then we go down and we say, what are the two that we're going to work through this 12 months that we're together? And what are you going to do about it? Because we can all say we have these dreams, but it comes down to nobody's coming to do the work for you. And we all have the same time in the day. And so if you really do want this, what are you going to do about it? And so it's a lot of coaching in that way. And then also the core of it is this rhythm of life. And you can have these dreams and you can have these things you want to do, but if you're not becoming the version of you that can carry it and that can live it, it's all about being the best version of yourself. And so we check in physically, emotionally with your relationships, intellectually. Are you being that lifelong learner? Are you curious? Or do you think you know everything? And then spiritually, so do you have that sense of peace and purpose in your life? And if not, how do we get there? And so we really base every month around those questions and getting them into that green area with all 4 areas.
So does it start as group engagement, like you mentioned, the NDSU athletes?
Yeah.
Is it a big presentation, then people sign up?
It's been a voluntold situation in my experience. And so with the athletes, outside of the organizational structure, going to work with the athletes, this really hit home. It's like that grow up and go be who you needed in that age, in that time. That's what I feel like I'm doing. And in my college years, I could have desperately used somebody to sit down in a way that was not like I'm better than you, that I know all the answers. I like to think that I can relate to people pretty easy. I can build a relationship really easy. And so they don't feel like they're being talked at, and they just have a place where they can feel seen and heard, decompress, work through conflict, learn how to communicate. This age group desperately, desperately needs it, and they crave it. They just don't know how to do it. And so a lot of our time really is like the pressure and the things that they're facing a lot of times comes down to, okay, what is the outcome you're looking for? You need to have a direct conversation with a coach, with a teammate, with a professor, whatever that conflict. And we're running through that in real time, and then they're going, and I'm holding them accountable. It's another thing they're missing a lot of times in that age is just that accountability to do things on their own, especially as an athlete. I mean, they might as well tell them when they need to go pee, for God's sake. So, everything's planned out for them, and they just expect them to thrive after they leave. That's not fair to the student athlete to go and succeed afterwards, which should be the point of what college athletics is.
You would think so,
Yeah.
but
it's not.
The purpose of college athletes is to win.
It is.
It's to win.
It is.
It's produce revenue.
Yep.
It's, what Big Game James says. We're up against the break. Our final break already. This is going by too quick. But when we come back, we're going to talk about that very thing. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. If you want to call in, the phone number 701-293-9000. But on those things anymore.
I know it.
Hey, welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm really sad that this is the last segment. You're definitely going to have to come back because there's so much stuff that we didn't cover. And hey, listen, you're a great talker. I mean, it's like everything. I've loved everything about this show. So you were talking about the fact that people need an ear. And the one thing that I found is that you talked about, and I don't know if you said accountability, but in this whole mentoring piece, it comes back to accountability, but also active listening and the ability to give the people what they need to hear in that moment, not necessarily because you're right.
Yes, 100%. And that's hard. And it's hard for this next generation to hear those things. And at the same time, they also need them. And I will also argue the other side of us as more seasoned veterans. We also need to recognize what this generation needs. And they do ask the questions, the why. Why am I doing this? What they ask the questions. And to us, we grew up differently where we just did what we were told. You listen to the coach, you do the things. well, this is a whole new wave of people. And guess what? They want to know why. And if you're not also willing to adjust your approach, you will not win games. It's just plain and simple. They will not want to work hard for you.
They will shut you down.
You have to be a coach. You have to be somebody who others are willing to work hard for. Like, the whole thing behind this is building leaders worth following. If you are not somebody worth following, what is the point?
Right.
Like, your whole job should be they graduate, they leave here, and they're inviting you to their wedding because you made such an impact on them, not because you won the games, you know? And so it's really allowing that piece of really giving them the ear to be taken off the coach in the really detailed ways. Of course, you still need to know that they care about you as the coach, but in this day and age, they're raising NIL money. They are running 500 miles an hour. And guess what? If they don't win games, then they're on the chopping block. And so they have a job to do at the end of the day. So the coaches and the athletic departments that believe in what I'm doing tells me that there is still that really deep desire to care about the athlete, and they just don't have the time or resources to do it themselves. And so what a great opportunity for me to come in and take that off their plate, keep their athletes healthy, happy, communicating, and winning games.
So I've got an organization, and I want the Dream Project to come in. What do I do to make that happen?
Yeah, so I do a lot of leadership training workshops. I do group coaching and the one-on-one coaching within an organizational structure as well, to get your employees more engaged and happy at work. And so you can go to carlymoch.com. It's KARLIMOCH.com. There's all the information you need to know there. Book mostly private ones. I do have a public speaking engagement coming up, Faith Forward, if you're not familiar with that program. It's this is their second conference. It's a new nonprofit to our community, really bridging that gap between leadership and people of faith and in that Christianity. And so how do we be Christians in the workplace and not be hiding that piece of it? And so they're trying to bridge that gap. And it was a really, really incredible conference last year. So I'm looking forward to that this October. It
is amazing. You talk about Faith Forward and not living in the shadows as a Christian, because it's hard.
Yep.
It's hard to put your faith out there because, first of all, you don't want people to look at you a certain way.
Yep.
You don't necessarily want to be that holier than thou person. But at the same time, I'm not hiding my faith because guess what? I believe that I'm going to be the only person standing there on Judgment Day, and I don't want the Lord to be like, okay, why didn't you?
Yeah.
And I always say, there's a quote: "What you do to the least of them, you do to me."
Yep.
And so I try to keep that in my mind as I go out and do battle or I interact with people. Before we get out of here, we will not forget to mention your sweetheart of a mama, right?
She's the best.
She is. Listen, she doesn't say much, but listen, even when Dawn was beating the crap out of me, she was very encouraging. And
I get the best of both of them. I've got my, pretty laid back, chill ways of my dad, but then also the talkative, spontaneous, say what's on your mind mom. And so I think I have the best of both worlds, which actually in the solopreneur world, I feel like, when you talked about you do have that brand and that image, I would say for the first time to counter that concept that you kind of brought up is I am living in what I wanted to say for years, because it needs to be said. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of great in our community, and there's also a lot of people and leaders that I see putting on a face, and behind closed doors, they're not the same. And so honestly, the speech that I'm giving at Faith Forward is going to be very bold. It's going to be very convicting, I hope, to people in the crowd of just, if people are following you around, if the people that are working with you, if I interviewed every single person you talked to in the last 24 hours, let alone week, would they say that you are trying to be like Jesus, that you are a Christian? Or on the flip, if that's not your thing,
they would not.
Are you a good leader? You say you're a leader. So if you're not a person of faith, like if I followed you around and I asked the people that work for you and work with you and the people under your roof, would they say you're a good community member and a good leader and a positive light and somebody who loves other people, or do you just put that show on? And so I feel like we need to stop putting the show on.
There is the show, and we've learned, and our generation, we've learned how to behave in certain circles, It's just like I was told this week, you know, you keep going at people, you're going to lose business, or you're going to do this or that, or people aren't going to like you. And I just had to tell the person, look, if I'm telling the truth and you don't like it, then so be it. Because for me, it really is about trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got a ton of issues, but at the same time, we need to hold people's feet to the fire.
Yeah.
We should be trying to be good all the time. We should be trying to help our fellow man. Big Game James says that the
And
love
he's a
affair
stickler,
with.
I tell you what.
Listen, man, James is on top of it, but I love the guy dearly. We want to thank you for tuning in, Carly. I want to
Yes.
thank you for coming on. I
Thanks
will
for
be
having me.
following you up with it.
Yes.
I will be following up with you in the future. All love and
that.
success. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, let's all try to build a stronger community. We have to communicate. We have to be kind. And as always, hey, stay black.